There is a contradiction in the accepted chronology of ancient Egypt that is hard to ignore. We are used to thinking of the pyramids as the beginning of a great civilization, its dawn. But if we put aside the textbooks and look at the facts from an engineering perspective, the picture changes. This does not look like a beginning. It looks more like a finale. Or, what raises even more questions, like an attempt to preserve technologies that were already fading into the past. Perhaps this was not the rise of a civilization, but a moment we have become accustomed to interpreting too linearly. In the next few minutes, we will trace a chain of facts that often remain outside the brackets of official history. We will not touch upon mysticism. We will rely solely on construction logic and the physics of materials. Once you see this pattern, it will become clear why the official map of history does not quite match the territory, and why what we call progress, in this case, looks more like degradation. The official version sounds logical and consistent. We are told that around 3,000 years BC, the tribes of the Nile Valley united and began a long path of development. First clay, then brick, then the first step pyramid, and finally, through trial and error, the perfection of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is a beautiful straight line, from simple to complex. But here a problem appears. In this line, the traces of evolution itself are missing. If we look at the real construction chronology, we see a strange anomaly. Technologies did not develop smoothly. They appear as if out of nowhere, immediately at a high level. The Great Pyramid emerges in Egypt's history suddenly, demonstrating a precision of stone processing that is difficult to explain within the standard model of tools and technology of that time. And here is what is particularly strange. Immediately after the construction of the Giza complex, construction quality doesn't just drop, it collapses. The pyramids built by the pharaohs of the following dynasties, the 5th, 6th, 12th, today do not look like geometric wonders, but like melted hills of rubble and clay. They fell apart. A reasonable question arises. How could a civilization forget its greatest achievements in just a few generations? How does one go from the perfect fitting of megalithic blocks to primitive masonry of unbaked brick? This does not look like development. It looks more like memory loss. But that's not all. Let's look at the tools. Official history speaks of copper chisels and stone hammers. But look at artifacts from the pre-dynastic period. For example, diorite vases. Diorite is one of the hardest stones. To process it qualitatively, you need tools comparable in hardness to steel or diamond. Yet we find thousands of such vases created even before Egypt officially became a state. They are perfectly symmetrical. Their internal cavities are hollowed out through narrow necks with a precision that baffles even modern lathe operators. Here a physical question arises. How exactly was such precision achieved with the claimed tools? Copper and abrasives can theoretically work, but the scale and quality of the processing seem unusual for manual technology. And this is precisely where the official version begins to crack. The deeper we look into the past, the more perfect the technologies appear. The Sphinx itself bears traces of erosion that many geologists identify as water erosion, the result of prolonged torrential rains. But Egypt's climate became dry long before the date the Sphinx was supposedly carved. This could mean that the most massive and complex objects are, in fact, the oldest. All these facts push us toward a conclusion that shifts the perspective. Perhaps the pyramids of Giza are not the product of a nascent culture, but a legacy. Dynastic Egypt, as we know it, with its gold, chariots, and hieroglyphs, might not have created these machines of eternity from scratch. There is a possibility that the Egyptians arrived in lands where these colossal structures already existed and adapted them to their culture. Not architects, but custodians. This explains why they so diligently carved their inscriptions over ancient granite blocks, even though the quality of their own carving often falls short of the quality of the masonry itself. In this context, the behavior of the Egyptians takes on features strikingly reminiscent of a cargo cult, a cult that arose around the remains of something much larger. They saw the pyramids, they saw the Sphinx, and they built their religion and power around an attempt to understand and preserve traces of that very first time. If we accept this thought, the consequences for our understanding of history are serious. It means the timeline could be completely different. Egypt might not have been the cradle of civilization, but a lifeboat for knowledge that survived a much older crisis. This also explains the Egyptians' obsession with preservation. They didn't look to the future, they looked back. They saw evidence that even the great can fall, and their civilization was built on the fear of completely losing the past. Take the Serapeum, for example. Huge granite boxes weighing up to 100 tons with perfect geometry. Their purpose is still debated, and the simple explanation of tombs for bulls aligns poorly with the scale and engineering complexity of these structures. These objects look more like technical vessels or reservoirs, the meaning of which was lost to the new masters of this land. The pharaohs might have used them as decorations for their own grandeur, but likely didn't even possess the technology to freely move their lids. So, we are facing a picture where the pinnacle of engineering thought is at the beginning of the timeline, not at its end. History did not go smoothly upwards. It seems to have been recovering after a fall. We look at the pyramids and keep asking the question, how did they build this? But there is a more disturbing question. Why did they stop? What happened that caused the technologies to vanish? If methods that allowed for such work with stone existed in deep antiquity, where did they go? We are used to perceiving Egypt as a museum of the beginning of time. But if you look closely at the traces of erosion, at the nature of the stone processing, and at the sharp decline that followed, you get the feeling that we are not looking at the start of history. We are looking at a monument to a world that is gone. And if it happened to them, why are we so sure that this scenario cannot repeat itself?